So these are a lot harder than the beginner factoring trinomials because if you see, we call this the a value. A typical quadratic function looks like this. So we call that the a value, that when x squared has a coefficient. So if you see these, both of them actually have an a value. So here's a way to solve this, and we call it the Berry method. So what you can do is actually, the first thing you can do is you can multiply the a and the c values. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 6, so that's 30. And then I'm going to think about which two numbers will multiply to give me 30 and add to give me negative 31. So I already see it. I know it's going to be 1 and 30 somehow. And then the next step is a little different. I'm going to take this 5x, and I'm actually just going to place it, just for a moment, at the beginning of each of my binomials. And then I'm going to substitute in my values of 1 and 30. Okay, so 1 and 30. But I know that both of them have to be negative in order to get me to negative 31. So they both have to be negative. And then the last step is to factor out anything you can and leave it out. Because obviously right now, if I were to multiply and FOIL this out, I would get 5x times 5x, which is 25x squared. So this is not the completed answer. So I'm going to factor out anything I can. So in this case, I see that they're both divisible by 5. And so once I factor a 5 out, I'll have x minus 6. And this one, nothing can factor out of it. So this is just part of my answer. And that will be our answer. Okay, so a few extra steps involved when we're doing this. All right, so let's look again. We're going to do 7 times 32, which is 224. I'm going to think about what times what will give me, how will I get 60 using 224? So I'm just going to start messing around with this, maybe divide it by different numbers. And I see that it's going to be, I think it's going to be 56 times 4. Okay, it's going to be 56 times 4. Now this could take you a while to figure out. Okay. I figured it out just using my calculator and thinking about different factors of 224. So if you want, you could use a prime factorization tree to kind of start to help you and think about that. But it is going to be 56 and 4. So what I'll do is, we're just going to go ahead and put 7x at the beginning of each of our binomials. And then again, use that 56 and 24. And I see that, or sorry, 56 and 4. And I see that they both need to be positive to get me to this positive 60. And then I'll just have a look through and think of what can I factor out? What can I factor out of each piece? And I notice that this one I can factor out a 7. When I factor out a 7, 56 divided by 7 is 8. So I'll get x minus 8. And 7 and 4 are both, they don't have any common factors, so we can't factor anything out. So that's just going to be part of our answer. And so those will be the two binomials that multiply to give us this trinomial.